Welcome to the Probate Realtor Show, your one source for selling and buying real estate through trust and probate. Hear directly from the best attorneys and trusted advisors on how executors and administrators navigate the probate process in and out of court. Being a personal representative or successor trustee can be a daunting task, and often beneficiaries don't have a clear plan. Let us help you make the right decision for your clients, your family, and your legacy. And now, here's your host, the probate realtor himself, Matias Baker Masucci.
Welcome, everybody, to another very exciting episode of the Probate Realtor Show. Today, we have the pleasure of talking to Daniel Kuo, who is the owner of Rose Valley Assisted Living Homes and Pinnacle Medical Care Homes. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Matias. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. We're going to delve right into it. This is a very important topic because there comes a time in the life of somebody where, they need extra care. And it is important to know that there are places such as yours out there. So my first question is, what inspired you to focus on providing care for the elderly and medical patients?
Well, it's a little bit personal, actually. I have one business partner, and between he and I, we kind of shared some similar family experiences with our grandmothers needing care. We kind of saw the family dynamics. His mother is the eldest daughter on their side of the family, so she took the lead. My dad's the eldest son on his side of the family, took the lead. So we saw just a lot of the things that they went through. And maybe more importantly, we saw some of the different housing options when it came to care. And frankly, we kind of felt like we could probably do better than some of the places that we saw. And so one thing led to another. And, we were really blessed to have people who believed in us and allowed us to really start these homes about 8 years ago.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now let's talk about the actual, how does it work? How do these homes work? How do you set one up? Take me from the beginning, of how you find the location, how you set one up, how do you hire the people who are in charge of the care? How does that work?
Sure. So it's a part of the process. Initially you're looking for a place to buy, right? Just like any other property you're looking for. Because there's care involved, we're usually looking for single stories, right? We're looking for enough square footage where we can have as many private rooms as possible. We find that that's what, most people are looking for. And then, it's a normal renovation process, right? You get the working drawings with the architect, you get the building permits, you get the general contractor, finish the construction, get the sign off from the city. But then you have to apply for the license, right? For the assisted living homes where we're taking care of the elderly, we actually have to apply with Department of Social Services. Usually I like to budget 12 months or so, sometimes a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower. Just kind of depends on who you get working on the file. Also, if we're talking about the medical care homes, we're submitting our license application to Department of Public Health. So that's a little bit more robust and got to jump through more hoops because it is a higher level of care. And I'd like to budget, also around 12 months or so, sometimes, more, sometimes less.
That makes sense. Now, let's take it back one more step. You talk about the contractor doing the work. Now, these medical care homes, do they require special ADA accessibility? Do you have to put bars, near the toilet, near the shower? Can you not have a pool or whatever, whatever the circumstances may be? I'm a little interested. What are the prerequisites that you look for when you are setting up the home for the first time?
Sure. So it does for the medical care homes. Actually, the technical term is called a congregate living health facility. That's what it shows on the license. But that's a mouthful. When I say that, I don't think most people are going to understand what that is. And so the easiest way for me to describe it is medical care home because it's literally a home that you can receive medical care. So I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And for that, like you said, yes, you would need like grab bars. You have to make it ADA compliant, basically.
Yes.
And you need to have an on-site generator for backup power, right?
Okay.
You also need to have fire sprinklers. Those
Mm.
are all required.
Thank you for letting me know. Now, something else you said is like we're looking for enough square footage to have enough rooms. This is a question that people are want to know. How many rooms are there per home? And does it vary between homes, or is there kind of a standard number that you're like, this is what you can expect if you go to one of our homes?
Yeah, ideally, we would have, 6 private rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everybody has their own. However, these days, you need to have a pretty big house, right, in order to
Right.
have 6 different bedrooms. And so some of them are going to have to be shared, but even the shared spaces, it's going to be a lot more robust and comfortable than the alternative setting, which would
Mm-hmm.
be, let's say, in a skilled nursing facility where you receive this kind of medical care. Sometimes you have like one roommate, two, even up to 3 roommates I've
Mm-hmm.
seen at various facilities. So in a home setting, even though it would be a shared room, it's still more like a cozy residential kind of feel to it.
That makes sense. Now let's talk about the staffing. When
Yeah.
you open one of the homes, first let me ask you, medical care and elder care, do they require different staffing needs?
Yeah. So yes, so let's start off with the assisted living for
Mm-hmm.
the elderly because it's licensed by Department of Social Services. So we need to have trained caregivers on site. We're not
Mm-hmm.
required to, let's say, have nurses or doctors, anything like medical, because
Mm-hmm.
technically, assisted living is considered non-medical, and we're
Mm-hmm.
helping with just they're referred to as ADLs, activities of daily living.
Okay.
So our trained caregivers, which during the day will have 2 caregivers taking care of up to 6 residents. Overnight, we have one awake night staff. Usually there's just a lot less activity overnight. So one person is able to handle it, make their rounds. If they have to take somebody to the bathroom, give them some water overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple stuff. And the training for that is there's really ongoing training throughout the day. Whenever our administrator sees things that need to be corrected or giving some feedback right on the spot, that always
Mm-hmm.
happens. But even before somebody begins, they'll get the 40 hours of training before they can start. So there's various topics, from, let's say, lifting techniques to how to approach somebody with dementia, perhaps, different techniques to speak to them or approach them in a way that's more effective.
That makes sense. Now, when it comes to the medical, on the other hand,
Yes.
what are the, apart from you have a nurse there in place?
Yeah, so the staffing for the medical care home, very different. We actually start off with a medical director
Okay.
who is ultimately responsible for all patient care within the home. And
Okay.
he'll personally come at least once a week, also has a nurse practitioner that could send out at least once a week. Right below that, we have a director of nursing who's a registered nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll pop in, various times throughout the week, at least 20 hours a week. And at all times, 24/7, we have one LVN and one CNA around
Okay.
taking care of up to 6 patients. So it doesn't
Can
matter if
you can you explain those acronyms for the people who are not
oh,
familiar with them?
yeah, sorry about that. Yes.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
LVN, licensed vocational nurse,
Mm-hmm.
that's basically a nurse that can be on the floor and will be able to do things like pass out the medications, do injections, let's say for insulin, or like
Right.
maintain like a ventilator, that kind of thing. And then the CNA, certified nursing assistant, that's kind of like more of the hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
that will help out with the ADL's activities of daily living that I explained earlier. So between the two of them, they're going to be taking care of 6 patients. So you can tell right off the bat, in a smaller setting like this, the patients get so much more, time and attention from the
Mm-hmm.
care staff than they would get at a much larger facility.
So if somebody needs 24 hours medical care, this is kind of like those medical homes are kind of an in between where one, it'd be very expensive to hire your own nurse to be in your own house. So
Yes.
you're kind of, but you are not as, as you're not getting as little care as if you're like in a nursing home. So it's kind of like the in between. You're sharing the cost
Yes.
with other patients. Let me ask
Yes.
you something about a medical doctor. Is there
Yes.
a medical doctor that you have that is like it's our go-to guy? I know how, here it's in America is very insurance is a very like complex
Well, super
issue when
tricky.
it comes to in
Insurance.
network, out of network, this
Yes.
and that.
Yes. Yes.
In a medical emergency,
Yes.
you dial 911. Is that
Yes.
what happens? Okay.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. I mean, there are times where, there's a certain condition or certain situation where it could be even, beyond our scope. And then we would have to call 911, get the ambulance involved, sent to the nearest hospital.
mhm.
But if under normal circumstances, if there's no emergency, we should be able to handle all of the normal routine medical care. Yes.
Very nice. Thank you for explaining that. Let's talk about the food, something that interests
Sure.
me. Uh, how are these people? Is there somebody that comes over and uses the kitchen in the house to prepare the food for everyone? In your experience, what are or in the facilities that you own and
Yeah,
manage?
so it is actually different in both settings.
Okay.
In the assisted living setting where we're caring for the elderly, our caregivers actually wear a lot of different hats. And one of the
Okay.
things they have to do is prepare meals. So all three meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner,
Hmm.
prepared in the home, in the kitchen, right? And
Hmm.
then if we are to prepare food inside of a medical care home, there's a lot more regulation, so it doesn't make sense for us. So we actually get meal prep services that are done offsite, and then we
Oh,
get
okay.
the meals delivered, and then multiple times a week. But we can do the easy stuff, like let's say maybe cut up some fruits, or here's breakfast, here's some milk and cereal, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. But we're not actually cooking inside of the medical care homes.
Let's talk about it now from the point of view of the consumer, somebody who
Sure.
is looking for a
Yes.
home. What are
Yes.
the advice you can give them? Like, hey, look, when you're looking for a facility for elder care, these are the things you should make sure they have. When you're looking for a facility for medical care, these are the things that you should be sure they have. Let me know.
Sure, sure. Let me start off with the assisted living first for
Hmm.
the elderly. There's really two main types. You either have the larger facility setting or
Hmm.
you have a smaller home setting. If it's no longer an option to be able to have care inside of, let's say, their own home where they were from originally.
Right.
So I wouldn't say necessarily one is better than the other. I would
Hmm.
just say one is probably more suitable than the other. And this
Right.
is what I mean. For those elderly that are more independent, for those that are able to take advantage and enjoy all of the various amenities and activities that a larger facility has to offer, that
Hmm.
might make more sense for them. However, if the care evolves to a point where more or less 24/7 care and supervision is required,
Hmm.
and the elderly person is no longer able to truly enjoy and utilize all of those amenities, then a smaller home setting would be more appropriate. And it's just by the layout and the way that we're staffed, right? In
Hmm.
a larger setting, it's more like apartment style. You go down a hallway, there's doors on both sides, and
Right.
everybody has their own, bedroom, living room, and all that, but the doors are closed, right? And
Hmm.
so if something were to happen, it may take a while before a caregiver in that setting would be able to get to them or even know that something had happened. Whereas in a smaller home like ours, it just is a house, right? And so, you got like 2 to 3,000 square feet of coverage. If something were to happen in one bedroom or another, you'd be able to find out within minutes. And
Mm.
we have sensors and things like that in our homes where different chimes will go off for different bedrooms, so we'll know exactly what's going on in each room. And so a lot of times we have, unfortunately, patients that want to come to our medical care home, their family wants to come, the hospital wants to discharge them to us. We're ready to take them on, but oh, sorry, insurance not going to cover this, so we can't move forward. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, there are private pay situations as well where, look, insurance not even going to come into the picture, so it doesn't even matter. But it's a more expensive option when you're talking about the medical care home versus the assisted living home, right?
Hmm.
Because we're talking about having medical care staff like nurses, like nursing
Right.
assistants, instead of caregivers, and they're both around the clock. And so, just to give you an idea, like the minimum monthly for a medical care home be like around 15,000
Okay.
and up. So, not many people can afford that, right?
Right.
And conversely, in a assisted living home, it's about half of that
Mm,
starting rate per
right.
month. So just to give you an idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. What other activities? Obviously, the medical care, probably people are mostly bedridden, but when it comes to assisted living, are there activities that take place, for lack of a better explanation, outside the bedroom? Do they get to walk in the garden? Do they get to, do things that are not be laying on the bed and watching television?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're a smaller home setting and we're only caring for up to 6 residents at most,
Mhm.
it's a lot easier for us to really customize the different activities. It really depends on what the resident actually enjoys doing, right?
Okay.
We've been in this business for about 8 years now. In the very early on, we try to bring in like various activities, but not everybody enjoys the same things, right? So, for example, not everyone wants to play bingo every day, right?
Right,
And so,
right.
rather than force, various activities or just like, hey, everybody, let's do this, we can really work with the families. We can really just like, oh, you like to read more? Well, let's get some subscriptions. Let's get some, magazines. Let's get some newspapers. Let's get you some books.
That's
Or oh,
great.
you enjoy certain shows. Why don't we just, make sure we have that programming on through all the various streaming sites that are available. Oh, you like to go for walks? Let's go for walks. Oh, you don't like to go for walks? Then we don't need to go for walks. That's okay, right? It just really depends. And that's one of the benefits of a smaller place, that we can really just work with the families and work with the residents to do things that they really enjoy.
Very nice. Let me ask you a question. How do you assure the quality of care in your facilities? What are the steps that you take to make sure that you continue to maintain the high standards, which, keep your clients happy and
Yeah,
keep
that's
them.
That's a great question. I mean, we do daily audits,
Okay.
between the shift. Whenever there's a shift exchange, there's walkthroughs that the staff will do together, and there are different forms that they fill out regarding the walkthroughs, which are audited almost every day.
Nice.
For sure, Monday through Friday, we try to give, our management team some little breaks here and there, especially like on the weekends or holidays. But we do have multiple people. So even on the weekends, we're able to call in constantly and check in on things. We have management calls every morning at 9 o'clock where we talk about every single home, every single resident, how's everybody doing, what's going on, what needs to be done. We have cameras in all of the common areas of our
Very
homes.
nice.
We're able to, see what's going on in the homes care wise, but also visitors that are coming in, different outside consultants, service providers that are coming in, visitors, guests, that are coming in, and of course, like the staff interactions and things like that with our residents or our patients, especially in all the various, common areas, and also like the backyard, for example, where if somebody wants to like have some, cookies and coffee outside in the backyard, they can do that, right? And we'll be able to see all of that, and we give feedback right on the spot if we see something that needs to be given.
Very nice. Thank you for explaining that. Let's talk about your journey. How did you arrive? It's an unusual profession that you're in. So I am assuming, is it safe to assume that when you were a child, you didn't think, oh, when I grow up, I want to own and operate, medical care and assisted living homes?
That's right. I mean, I didn't even know about those. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't even know these kind of homes even existed
Uh-huh.
until the same year in which we opened up our first one. The way I kind of learned about this was I spent a couple of years doing financial services and insurance planning.
Okay.
At that point, that's when I learned about something called long-term care insurance. And that's the insurance that will pay for the expenses of assisted living in our assisted living homes for the elderly. Now, me being the only child, I knew that I'm going to be responsible, for my parents. And
Right.
so at that time, I got long-term care insurance for them and also myself because it was so cheap. I was only in my 20s at the time. But that's when I really learned about the need of assisted living, the trends, the whole baby boomer generation and how many millions and millions of people are going to be needing care, and then really all the costs associated with it. And so that's where I kind of got that knowledge base. So when the opportunity came up to start one or to own one, it made a lot of sense to me. And, about 3-4 years into it, I also accidentally stumbled upon a medical care home. When I was doing a lot of networking, I just visited, with different facilities and homes. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? This looks a lot like, what I'm doing, but there's nurses here. There's like medical care here. Like, what is that? How does that work? And after looking into it, realized it makes a lot of sense. It's getting more and more known these days, and I think it's only going to get more and more well known as time goes on, because you do hear some anecdotally, some not so positive stories out of like maybe some larger skilled nursing facilities, especially like during times of COVID. And so now people kind of have it in their minds like, oh, I don't want to be in a nursing home or like a skilled nursing facility kind of setting. And so this is like a good home-based alternative that you can still be in a home setting. So it just made a lot of sense for us.
That makes sense. Thank you very much for sharing that story with me. Now, before I let you go, I have a very important question, which is, how do people find you? If I need your services, how would you come on my radar?
Yeah, so they can visit our website. Should I share the link?
Absolutely. Please plug it.
Okay, yeah, it's www.rosevalley.rcfe.com. There's a lot of those random letters. It sounds like RCFE really stands for Residential Care Facility for the Elderly. And that's the technical term. That's what shows up on the license. But it's so much easier just to say assisted living home. But if someone wants to reach me directly, feel free. I can give my personal email address as well. It's my name, Daniel, Daniel, the letters NA as in North America, and then my last name, Kuo, Kuo, @gmail.com. So
perfect. That's
pretty
great.
easy to get a hold of me.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing all this information with us. So people usually find you online?
Yeah, so when people are searching for homes, they usually stumble across our websites online. Let's say somebody's looking for assisted living or somebody's looking for board and care, certain key words that our website will show up like during their search. I'm more than happy to point them in the right direction. We work together with a lot of other professionals, and we can always point people in the right direction, even if we're not able to be the ones to personally help them ourselves.
Thank you very much for all that information. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, everybody who has joined us for this episode. It's been great to have you along. Reach out to Daniel if you do have any question. He's an extremely helpful individual and a nice person to be around. Just to add like the cherry on top, if I don't hear from you guys, from the audience until the next episode, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Probate Realtor Show. Find more episodes and interact with us at probaterealtor.la. That's probaterealtor.la. Listen, ask questions, and get results. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The Probate Realtor Matias Baker Masucci is a licensed real estate broker in California, DRE number 020544763. Any legal information provided is for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. Contact an attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal issue or problem. We make no guarantees as to the accuracy of any information. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.